What's going on, guys? Vulkan here, and today we are going through the Trickster starter build. So a lot of people were asking for this one. Hey, we need a Trickster build. What can we do to get through story, to kind of blast through some stuff, get into early end game so we can start grinding out some gear. Plus, the Trickster is a really cool class to use, and I know a lot of people dove into this class because they like kind of the space ninja, time warping, time wizard type of playstyle that a Trickster has. So this was a really cool one to make. I'm gonna go ahead and get things started for you guys. Now, the point of this build is to get from point A, which is the beginning of the story, to point B, which is a little bit into endgame so you can start grinding gear. Now, what this build is not is a fully optimized Trickster build. There is a lot of work that needs to happen on this one to get to that point. This is just going to get you through campaign and into early endgame. So let's go ahead and let's get started, starting with the skills. So the skills we're going to be using are Cyclone Slice, Twisted Rounds, and Venator's Knife. All of these skills have a purpose, like Cyclone Slice. Cyclone Slice's purpose is to chew through red bar enemies, get rid of that cannon fodder, and clear the battlefield quickly. Now, why do we use Cyclone Slice instead of Temporal Blade, for instance? Well, the nice thing here is you tap it once and it goes. You are literally spinning, chewing through things. Number two is it has an active interrupt. Every single hit is going to deal damage, as well as interrupt enemies and stun lock them. So if you're fighting like an elite or a boss, you can continuously interrupt them until they become immune using Cyclone Slice, all while dealing damage. Now, the second one is Twisted Rounds. Now, Twisted Rounds, its whole intention is single target damage, burning through enemies. This is a crazy ability. Honestly, all the anomaly rounds are crazy abilities right now, but this one will scale both with firepower and anomaly power. And the nice thing here is you activate this with that LMG and you're just chewing through stuff super quick. And because it has such a big magazine of 150 rounds, you're able to keep it up for a longer period of time. And lastly, we have Venator's Knife. Now, this is a cool ability just because it's design. I really like the way they designed this one. You're throwing a blade, it's gonna bounce between 5 enemies, deal some damage, afflict them with slow, but also the first damage that you do to those enemies after they're marked will be doubled. So this is a big DPS increase. You throw that Venator's Knife, which is on a 7-second cooldown, and then you pop Twisted Rounds, and you are literally melting stuff. So this is really good for combos to take down bosses, as well as comboing with Cyclone Slice to get some big damage on elites, and like I said, those red bar enemies early on. So all of these things synergize super well. But if you look, most of these you don't unlock until later, especially Venator's Knife. So what are we going to use early on? Well, super simple. Basically, we just substitute what we need with different skills. So Cyclone Slice, we need to have a mobbing ability, something to get rid of low-level enemies. So that's going to be your Temporal Blade. For Twisted Rounds, that one unlocks fairly early, so honestly, I would say don't have any substitutes for it. You're going to have Hunt the Prey in there for a while, but I would say just once you unlock Twisted Rounds, swap those out. And Venator's Knife, you can grab Slow Trap instead. You're gonna be doing similar things. So Slow Trap is going to create that nice survivability bubble, right? It's going to stop all the bullets going through it. It's going to slow everything down. You're able to pop this and get out of a sticky situation, or you're able to pop this and deal out some big damage, especially with Temporal Blade or Cyclone. So this is my recommendation early on. Temporal Blade, Twisted Round, Slow Trap, and then as you unlock those new abilities, swap them out. So this is how you should look at level 17 and beyond. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump over to the class tree. So as you can see, I'm level 29 on old Vulkster here, and I have a couple more points to get once I hit 30. Like I said, I just finished campaign, and I ran a little bit of end game to make sure my build was still viable. It is. So here's what we're going to be doing. Now you can see here the minor nodes. I go for the middle tree here. I pick up things like decreasing my shield degradation rate, reducing damage from elites, increasing my resistances, my armor. Now, the reason I go with this middle tree here is because we're gonna be cycloning, we're gonna be in close quarters combat, and we're going to be exposing ourselves to tons of damage. So we need to have a little bit of a bump in terms of survivability and beefiness, and the Harbinger tree is perfect for that. So some of these major nodes are like long odds. For each enemy in close range, your armor is increased by 15%, and there's not a cap on that. So that's just going to continuously stack. And then we have mitigation in motion. So when our damage skill ends, which is Twisted Rounds or Cyclone, our damage mitigation is going to increase by 10% for 10 seconds, giving us, again, a little bit more beefiness. Then we're going to have Wither Scything. This is going to cause our melee skill to inflict weakness on all enemies hit. Then we take a jump down here into the bottom Reaver tree to pick up Counter Shield. So this is for that Venator's Knife. Activating your deception skills increases anomaly power by 50% for 10 seconds, which is going to increase your cyclone damage as well as a little bit of your twisted rounds damage. And then we come back up here to pick up our skill leech increased by 6. Now, once I hit 30, I should have 2 more points, I believe, to put out here into the tree. And what I'm thinking about going into is Assault Master here, because I like the assault weapons kind of class. So this is going to increase our assault weapon damage by 3.5% for each unlocked concentration node, of which we have 2. And then my last one, I'll probably go and dip into resistance piercing, because there's some mods that are going to play off of that, plus being able to pierce resistances, especially at higher levels in in-game, is going to be crucial. So that's what we have so far. Like I said, this has worked out extremely well, and I've been able just to blow through campaign and into endgame. So hope you guys like this, but let's go ahead and let's jump back over into our inventory and start talking mods. Now, this is, like I mentioned, this is not a min-maxed build. This is something that is very much a work in progress. A lot of work needs to go into this to reach that point. This is purely that starter leveling build. So let's go ahead and let's go and take a look at what we're using. So I'm using the light machine gun, 150 clip size. This is perfect for having that twisted round and being able just to pump damage consistently down the field. I have the Claymore mod in here to increase my DPS, and then I have Perpetuum Mobile, which is going to cause me to instantly replenish my magazine if I kill an enemy with 35% or less ammo remaining in my magazine. So because light machine guns have a longer reload time, obviously the larger clip size, Perpetuum Mobile really helps with things like this. So having that on there, that rolled baseline, is super, super helpful, especially as you're going through the story. And then I opted for a submachine gun here. Again, Claymore. It's just too good to pass up, especially when you're leveling. And then improved vulnerability bullets to put vulnerable on enemies. And then hopping over into armor. So I have Mask of the Cannonball, which brings Purity and Bloodlust to the table. Purity is fantastic for survivability, especially early on. This is going to reduce the duration of all negative statuses by 75%, which is just great. And then we have Bloodlust. Killing shots increase your firepower by 378, stacking up to 3 times. So great mod there, especially for twisted rounds and things like that. Let's jump into our chest armor. So we have our Cyclone Slice, which is adding 5 seconds to that skill's duration. And then we have Perseverance Shield, which we're going to receive 823 points of shield whenever your health drops below 30%. Again, great stuff. Then we're moving into our pants, Wind Slash, Cyclone Slice, increasing our skill's damage by 327. And then Adrenaline, whenever your health drops below 30%, all your cooldowns are reduced by 50%. And next are gloves. Grand Bastion. This is a great mod. You need to have this, especially early on, because you're going to be squishy. You're not going to have a ton of armor and resistance and things like that. So having something like this is very helpful. This is going to cause Cyclone Slice to reduce incoming weapon damage and anomaly damage by 40%. And then we have Aura of Force. Killing enemies with critical shots grants an additional 1,112 anomaly power to myself and allies. And then we have our boots. I decided to go for Sharpening on Venator's Knife, which is going to increase the skill's damage by 581. So you might notice I didn't go through any of the attributes. Reason being, when you're leveling, I don't really care about the attributes. If I get something that works for my build, great. If I don't, great. Armor and weapons get churned through so quickly in the campaign that doesn't really matter. Once you get into endgame, that's when you start looking for the attributes you need. Up until endgame, the only thing I really focus on is keeping my mods on my gear and having higher armor and higher firepower, just focusing on those main stats. So that wraps up the Trickster starter build. I'm going to continue working on this to make a nice, viable endgame build. So I hope you Tricksters out there enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And as always, thank you so much for the support. This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.